It's like the old days. You're back on the camera.
It's on.
Is it okay? Yep. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Why, the new news network. See, if we were one of those old networks, we'd be in trouble right from the get-go because we're not starting at the time that we advertise. But some of you know this initiative, the W.E.B network, news network, and you all are all part of it unless you opt out. And along the way, I will be giving more information, raising more questions. First though, Andy, introduce yourself. Andy, ladies.
Hey. Thank you. I'm proud that our bookstore, Book and Puppet Company, can serve as the venue for Melba Tolliver's new media project, Why.
And also, what else is going on at the bookstore?
Oh, well, we just had a puppet show, and immediately after this we have the Speculative Fiction Book Club, and tomorrow night we have the Mutual Aid Social Therapy Group meeting, and on Tuesday night we have Dr. Hashan Batz is going to be here with Dr. Bonnie Winfield's book club, and we have concerts and story hours and author events, and the bookstore is very active right now. But Melba Tolliver is going to be running programs here every 2 weeks as part of her Why network.
And
so
this
will it be broadcast every 2 weeks, or
every 2 weeks
Okay.
we'll be here.
Yes,
and
got
we'll
it.
have people from all over the world. I don't want to sound like a braggart, but this is our goal, to have people from anywhere.
yes?
And we'll be kind of experimenting on how the interconnectedness of all of us and the
Via Zoom. That would be via Zoom?
But both Zoom and also we're streaming it on Facebook,
Okay.
so and also on the Patreon webpage and YouTube. We're putting it in a bunch of different places.
Okay.
we're also trying to raise money because right now it's just the two of us. And the bookstore is his real business. This is kind of a sideline, him supporting people like me who
Launching the project.
launching new projects. And he just admitted the other day, I've been asking him forever, what do you really, really, really want to do? Where's Regina? And he says, I would just like to have this place be used by more and more people with groups and ideas and starting things. Finally, I got him to admit that. That was just yesterday.
And we published Melba's book this year, and Mark Sloan, who's here, is going to be running a concert series in April. So
Mark?
yes, if you have any,
Mark Sloan.
if anybody who is here wants to run programming here, Scott Zukowski just did a program last Saturday, reading Scott C. Campbell's books. So the community is welcome to make use of Book and Puppet Company.
Yes, and good ideas. So we're going to get to everybody's names and why people turned up and turned out and so on and so forth in the course of this. And we're allowed to run a bit over, correct? Okay. So this is, those of you who actually read the invitation, you said, what the hell is this? A birthday party for somebody who died 157 years, was born 157 years ago, and a birthday party for him at the very bottom. But in our marketing, Andy and I convinced him to put a cake as the headline, because if we were to put up W.E.B. Du Bois, I don't think people would really necessarily connect. But seeing a luscious coconut cake and to a promise there will be cake with Meg back there.
There better be cake.
Meg, who is a preschool teacher and a linguist, even though she denies the linguist part, but she's going to be involved at some point for us to understand just why linguists, why? Anyway, so our why today, why W.E.B. Du Bois? I was trying to decide, should I go first or should you guys go first? So you all go first. Because you're gonna have time to think if I go first. So and you're not forced to, but when and how did you become aware of W.E.B. Du Bois? Linda.
I love it.
Why I'm starting with you, Linda, because I had warned you before you're gonna have a big job here. Hmm?
So,
Speak loud.
First, I can't even remember when I first knew of W.E.B. Du Bois. I guess I don't know if it was elementary or high school, but of course in school.
Of course, in school?
Of course, no,
Oh, of
actually
course.
in school.
Oh, actually.
Yes, that's when
Okay.
I knew of
You heard the name.
Yes, yes. And
Okay, you
it
don't have
was
to
when
tell it all,
used to be like Black History Week at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got to know about a lot different.
But it was in connection with Black History,
Yes.
which was then a week, and now Black History Month.
Yes.
But that was it. You're nodding your head. Is that how you first?
Yeah.
Tell
It
us
was,
your name.
Teresa Ellis.
Joyce.
We're bringing a microphone.
Teresa.
Teresa.
Oh.
Okay, Teresa. I realize I'm hard of hearing. That's why I have these hearing aids.
No, that's okay.
Wow, I've lost one.
Uh-oh.
But anyway, go ahead.
No, it was elementary school, and you learn about Booker T. and
Booker T.
Right.
yeah.
And not Booker T and the MGs, but
No,
Booker T
no,
Washington.
no.
Right, okay. All right, so Black History Week, month, whatever. Anybody else remember? Right behind you.
Right,
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yes, my name is Tina, and Linda invited, she gave me and my girlfriend
Okay.
the invite. I believe I heard of W.E.B. Du Bois College, because I don't think I heard about it when I was in grade school. I went to Catholic school from 1 to 8, and then from 9 to 12 I went to Washington Irving. which was all-
Washington Irving, oh,
High
so
school.
New York City, huh?
Yeah, so, back then it was all girls. I believe it was once I got into college. I went to the BMCC.
Did you, I'm sorry, I was noticing, somebody sneaking in here. I won't call attention to you, but I was distracted. Where did you go to college? Not Fisk?
I went to BMCC.
Oh,
She
BMC,
said Fisk.
Girl Manhattan Community College,
Fisk, I
okay.
wish I
Now,
was.
okay, no. Anybody else want to say when or if you first heard of W.E.B. Du Bois?
I thought he was gonna be sitting right there, and we were gonna celebrate his, have a birthday party right now. I'm like, where is he?
Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, oh, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Scott Zukowski. I went to school at Fair State University in Big Rapids, Michigan, for something that was completely different than what this is about. But I had two incredible experiences when I was at college. First, I met and was invited by Alex Haley to be part of a talk he gave at Fair State University, because I recognized him in the middle of a snow drifts, and it's like, Mr. Haley, what are you doing here?
Uh-huh.
The other thing was I corresponded with a Chicago poet, Gwendolyn Brooks, in the late 70s and early 80s.
Gwendolyn
And
Brooks,
so,
people are, let's pause just 1 second. People familiar with Gwendolyn Brooks? Well, okay, and she was our poet laureate at one point. See, when you come to this news operation, you bring information that is useful and that matters to people. It matters that we know who our poet laureates are and have been. Hmm?
Well, I've
Okay.
been fortunate because we corresponded. And
With
so,
Gwendolyn Brooks?
yeah,
Wow.
but you know, I've always taken initiative, so it's not as if, it was 45 years ago, but at the same time, I've really only, I think, evolved over the years, but we exchanged letters, and you know, that was back in the day when you
Did you
could
save
write
the
something.
letters? Yes, when you actually wrote
I
letters.
think I
right?
have them somewhere, but I have several of her books, and you know, she sent me a book one time, and
She helped put Chicago on the map.
she absolutely did. But through those
Connections.
experiences, you just grow from that. And,
Absolutely.
that's
So
why I'm here
so you
also
said,
today.
okay, that's why you're
Who's
here.
next?
Wait, Jerry, did you hear that? He has the letters, huh? Jerry Waxler here, not to be,
Yeah.
The letters from.
not to be confused with the music Jerry Wexler.
Oh.
Jerry is just a wonderful memoirist and supporter of people writing memoirs, me being one of them. I would never have probably, maybe somebody else would have come along, but completed my memoir, not for him, and meetings was it every Sunday? At Barnes and Noble, not over in the next town or so. But how about that, saving letters?
Oh, well, sure, yeah, any historical thing is awesome, and
Speak up.
putting together a history of what you experienced. I'm more interested in what you experienced as you grew into that, that encounter, and why you were so interested in Alex, how we recognized him, and what life was like in Michigan in the 70s and all that. So I think that's just such an interesting story. I mean, Melba's story is about how she grew to be who she was, and I think we all have stories, so that's why I'm so into it. But W.E.B. Bois, so I was kind of liberal high school in Philadelphia, and
In Philadelphia.
yeah.
And you know that one of his most important works was The Philadelphia Negro. That's W.E.B. Du
That's
Bois.
no, I did not know that.
Yeah.
But I, in
Neither
fact,
did
I didn't get into, so in college in Wisconsin in the late 60s, there was a really very, very active, intense leftist movement we called it leftist back then. Sort of like spillover from communism into the radical left, and all kinds of countercultural, anti-colonialist kind of thinking came into the regular everyday vocabulary of college kids, so that's,
So his name came up.
yeah.
Okay, well, W.E.B. Du Bois's influence on contemporary black intellectuals is a paper, this is a paper that I wrote for whenever. In 1969, I was browsing in my local bookstore when I came across a paperback copy of The Souls of Black Folks. The slender volume's title intrigued me. Curious to find out what the author had to say about black folks and their souls, I rifled through several pages until I was stopped by the description of something totally familiar to me. There on the page was something I had felt, the quote, strange sensation in quotes, that Du Bois described, but that I had never had words for. He called it, quote, double consciousness. And this is what he says. This sense of always looking at oneself through the eyes of others, of measuring one's soul by the tape of a world that looks on in amused contempt and pity. One ever feels his two-ness, an American, a Negro, two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings, two warring ideals in one dark body, whose dogged strength alone keeps it from being torn asunder. Back then, Melba, knew little more about W.E.B. Du Bois than his name, but I felt he was talking to me. His understanding of what it is to be black in America spoke a truth that I could say amen to. His words touched me deeply. I bought the small book, read it, and managed to hang on to it through several moves around New York neighborhoods. Pen and pencil marks underline my favorite passages. Nearly 100 years have gone by since Du Bois first published his elegant statement of double consciousness. Well over a quarter of a century has passed since I first encountered his words and first wondered about his power to express so sensitively my own authentic experience. Who was W.E.B. Du Bois? What major themes occupied his creative and fascinating mind? What has been his influence on the black thinkers, black intellectuals who are writing and speaking today? I think we could also say not just his influence or effect on black intellectuals, but on people of any shade, shape, color, gender, who actually think. T-H-I-N-K. Just the word itself is brings chuckles to me, because I once took a course in thinking. And when I mentioned it to some people, I said, part of the homework was every day pick a topic and for an hour just think about it. And the person says, what? Think about something for an hour?
Yep.
But really it was fascinating. You get to really watch your mind and see how what we call thinking is just linguistically, Meg, just bullshit. We're not thinking, we're repeating or whatever. Anyway, I'll try to keep these side comments all limited. W.E.B. Du Bois, the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. W.E.B. Du Bois. Over his long and extraordinary productive life, W.E.B. Du Bois acquired many titles: sociologist, historian, poet, playwright, essayist, editor, peace activist, civil and human rights activist, organizer, propagandist, novelist, newspaper columnist. Above all, Du Bois was a thinker, an intellectual, a man who believed in the power of reason, quote, to turn the tangle straight, unquote. For Black Studies scholar Dr. Nathan Hare, Du Bois is, quote, the father of serious Black thought as we know it today. So, it's interesting. Well, I think it's interesting. One of the activities, the efforts, the activism that Du Bois is known for is he was one of the founders of the NAACP, which I'm sure everybody in this room has heard NAACP, or they've read it somewhere, and they may not know exactly. It stands for the National Association, NAACP of Colored People. Well, I'm telling a tale that's true, but just up the street there was a event going on of the Eastern NAACP, National Association of
For the advancement
of colored people. Thank you, Linda. Come up here, Linda. No, Linda. No. You remember I told you you were going to be my co-anchor?
Next time, baby.
No. Practice this time, okay? Linda,
Yes.
you won't have to do anything. Really, you see how much I talk, right? So, Linda Van. So they were having a brunch and some sort of event to mark Black History Month, and I went in because I was curious, and I got introduced to the president, and I said, well, we're having an event down the street, a birthday celebration for W.E.B. Du Bois. Do you know he did not know? Why?
Yeah,
Why? Why? Huh?
why and how not?
Say that again?
Why and how not?
why and how not. But seriously, doesn't that deserve a why?
Yes, it does.
I mean, you don't even know who started the organization that you're the president of?
That's, yeah, no good.
Okay, you don't have to make
Thank
comments if you don't want to. No, you can go. But,
Was it a
Mark,
younger person? Was it a younger?
well, younger than me. I mean, how young is young?
Well,
Yes, so why are you asking whether the
Well,
person is younger?
education, circumstance, relationship. We grew up in a disinformation society of society that's supposedly very informed.
Well, we could, that's your thinking about why this person would not know.
How did he feel?
Mhm.
How did he feel once you?
Yeah, what was his
told him?
reaction?
How?
What was his reaction?
What was his
when
reaction?
he realized that he didn't know something?
It wasn't really anything because he was busy circulating, so he just took it as no. But the gentleman standing next to him, who was older, this does get to age, did know
Yeah.
who W.E.B. Du Bois was. So, I have the intention of asking people to engage with this. And Jerry, I will, or no, Maggie, I'll begin with you. This particular chapter in the book, each chapter begins with the lyrics of a spiritual. And Du Bois explains why. And these are called sorrow songs.
No,
Okay, I'll get it. So Maggie, just read it. Read it loud.
Here?
Mm-hmm. Start. You don't have to read the lyrics of the song, but just start there, and you can take this out and just read it. Read for a while.
I'll go over here.
I can hold the mic if you want. You just okay. Turn around. And don't worry.
Okay.
I'll make sure it's close
Okay.
to you.
The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. The relation of the darker to the lighter races of men in Asia and Africa, in America, and the islands of the sea.
All right, now stop there and read that again, because this is the quote that W.E.B. Du Bois is most known for. If people know anything about him, they'll say, oh yes, he's the one, the problem of the, go ahead, read it again.
The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. The relation of the darker to the lighter races of men in Asia and Africa, in America, and the islands of the sea. It was a phase of this problem that caused the Civil War. And however much they who marched south and north in 1861 may have fixed on the technical points of union and local autonomy as a shibboleth, all nevertheless knew, as we know, that the question of Negro slavery was the real cause of the conflict. Curious it was, too, how this deeper question ever forced itself to the surface despite effort and disclaimer. No sooner had Northern armies touched Southern soil than this old question, newly guised, sprang from the earth. What shall be done with Negroes? Peremptory military commands this way and that could not answer the query. The Emancipation Proclamation seemed but to broaden and intensify the difficulties, and the war amendments made the Negro problems of today.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank
Great.
you.
Yes. Great. Let's have a little applause. All right. Thank you, this correspondent. So this was written Huh? This, how long ago was this was written, huh? Is the problem of the color line is a problem of the 20th century. Did anything in that reading by Maggie, this particular portion, did that strike you as how ironic or something, or that this might have been written just
yesterday, last week, right?
say more?
Maybe last week. Because it's what we go through. It's a lot of what was written back then or going on back then is here in our laps today. That's
Okay, all right. So while our linguist has left, but one of the things that we're going to pay attention to on the Y network is our own language. When we say a lot of people, many people, everybody, somebody, like how many people are you speaking for? Not you, but us when we use that term. Oh, a lot of people. We hear this in the news frequently. I'm noticing this about myself now. I'm not going to say all the news media because I don't watch all the news media. I just watch one particular station that I happen to agree mostly with their political leaning. Everybody, some people, whatever. So let's just, because it's good to have this kind of practice because it has us pay attention. Mm-hmm. So, but your point is it's not uncommon to see evidence of what Du Bois said back in 18 when he wrote The Souls of Black Folk, and we hear it still today. Anybody else have some thoughts about? Go ahead,
I
Michelle.
wonder how long it's gonna take for it to not be that way. You know, how long is it gonna take before it doesn't matter, before
And Michelle is a teacher of English as a second language. You just say a little bit about that.
Take the microphone.
well, I teach in Phillipsburg, I teach first and second grade. And
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I feel terrible for my little kids and their parents because of, what's happening. And I don't understand. I just don't understand how, that's my question. How long is it gonna take? How many generations has it been since that was written? Three generations? Is it gonna take, you think, 6 generations? You think it's gonna take another 150 years, I don't know. I'd be interested to see where it's not even anything that's talked about, where people look back and are shame, just I don't know. I'm just wondering.
Well, I think that's why we are our network. We're wondering why. Mark alluded to, more than alluded to, he spoke a little bit more about education. You're part of the education system, but why? Here's 2 things, Michelle, that occurred to me, and I'll call this thinking. Hopefully, it is that. Notice as a news consumer, whatever channel or radio station that you listen to, how often experts are asked to explain wondering. And so, how many of you ever saw the movie Network?
Oh, yeah.
Remember Sybil the Soothsayer?
Yes.
Teresa, say a little bit about Teresa.
Well, what happened, the basic plot of Network is that, the audience is easily manipulated and has you can drive kind of what's popular and what's sensational and into kind of a fury and let that whole thing make money and make a profit.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it doesn't matter what happens to individual life. It doesn't matter what that what reflection that makes on our society. It's just a for-profit entity.
Well, okay, that's good, that's good. Let me just elaborate a bit. You can give the microphone back. The network, for those of you who have never seen it, is based on a Patty Chayefsky work. The anchorman threatens to commit suicide, and that brings the ratings way up there. He doesn't. He ends up not committing suicide, but the ratings just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And one of the people on the network was Sybil the soothsayer, who, as I remember the film, she's decked out and she has a crystal ball on the table from wherever she's doing her correspondence reporting. And if you listen carefully to news today, now the one station that I listen to, I will say MSNBC, and I actually listen to it because it's on the platform TuneIn, which is free if you take the advertisements. But I have sampled some other stations, and I notice analysts, commentators, special correspondents, and friends are often asked, how do you think it's going to turn out? Often, well, rarely does the expert say, I have no idea. The closest they come, and again, I'm generalizing because I haven't seen everybody, but it will then proceed to say, I don't know, but I think this is going to turn out this way. This is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and this is going to happen. I say that for us, as our new network, that we can pay attention, and we can, as our network, we can call their attention to this practice. What was the network anchor network? He got his people to raise the window and say, we're tired of this, and we're not going to take it anymore.
I'm as mad as hell.
I'm
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. We can do that.
Yes.
We don't need to raise the windows, but what we can do as the new news network is we can write a letter to the new head of MSNBC and say, I noticed you have people predicting the future on MSNBC. Do you think that's a good idea? What are their qualifications for these predictions? And if you would like a platform to come and talk about it, we have a network. It's called W.E.B. We operate in Eastern Pennsylvania, and we would love to hear you talk to us about how predictions actually are good for news consumers. We might even get an answer to Michelle's question.
Well, I figure it's gotta stop after, don't you?
But
And generations.
yes, Michelle, here's the thing. We can say these things that are true, that we believe to be true, over and over and over and over and over, but does it make a difference? But taking an action, I can tell you my experience from being on the air. That's why when you were talking about letters, when people get a handwritten letter, somebody pays attention, and especially if the letters are not obviously all from one, they're just the same letter and different signatures. But if we did this just as an experiment, and just to see what kind of reaction we got, this would be one action that we could report. We can report. We the reporters, and co-anchor, we can report to our communities, our various communities. And here's something else to just think about. We all are part of many communities. You're part of a teaching community. You're part of a homeowners community. You're part of the Bell Tower community. You're part of Martins Creek community. You're part of the memoir writing community, writers community. Whatever you do, it's not just little you who's all by yourself. You're connected to other people. So when somebody says the black community, hell, I belong to a lot more than black communities. Yeah. And I get confused when I hear black and brown communities. It's like, huh? Well, I even heard on NPR, on Fresh Air, who I really do think that show is tremendous. Tanya Mosley was making a distinction between a light-skinned black person. It's like, huh? I mean, really. Some of this stuff really needs to be cut out because it's nonsense. But that's not my point. Part of what I'm talking about is we can do something. As Michelle Obama says, do something. So, and you don't have to be, people say, well, I'm not a writer. If you're a talker and you're a listener, you're a writer. Yep. You just need to pick up a pencil, piece of paper and write what's on your mind. So, speak, say something. Yes.
Well.
Somebody has their hand up.
Oh, good. You wait. No. Go right ahead.
Do I need to move on? My name's Carol Lewis.
Real loud. I lost my.
We had this discussion as a group of ladies of us, and we had this discussion as we as elders, because most of the people in here are elders if you pass 50, who know the history. I was alive during the Civil Rights Movement. I was a teenager at the time. The things that were going on, the information that we bring to the table as elderly people.
Old people.
Elderly people.
I say elderly. It's a three-letter word that people just don't.
I always say the 50+ community.
Hey, let me just stop you there. How many other, where's the linguist? How many other expressions do we have for old people?
A lot.
Seasoned
Citizens, like seniors,
Seasoned.
Seasoned,
Mature.
mature.
Over the hill.
What?
Over the hill.
Only you and G.
I like sliding down.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
I had a program that was never too late, and we spoke to the 50+ community. It was never too late to do things that you want to do. You know, you put things on the back burner and say, you know, but you've been married, you had children, you've done all of that. Now you're 50+. Now it's time for you to do the stuff that you didn't get to do. So we bring a load of information that this younger generation doesn't know or doesn't understand, because some of it isn't taught. A lot of them still, they really don't know about the Civil Rights Movement. All the people, the players in the Civil Rights Movement, a lot of people don't know about
A lot of
the
people,
extension.
a lot of
well,
people.
okay, a lot of people. Young people, okay,
All
I'll try
young
to make
people,
a distinction.
or young people, you
Not
don't.
all. Well, that's why I said a lot of people, or most people. I'm not in a position to give you statistics.
No,
because if
I don't
was,
want
I
any
would.
statistics, but what I do want is your own experience.
Yeah, well, okay, my experience, the people I run into.
Right.
I talked to them about Fannie Lou Hamer, and they'll ask me, well, who was she?
Right.
Or Ella Baker, who was she? I don't know about her. You know, just different people. who
So
were part of the
what
civil
do you
rights
do
movement.
then? What do
So
you
I
do?
feel that we as the senior plus community, there's a lot that we can do. I mean,
Well,
she's a teacher.
suggest
You
something.
can, just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. She's a teacher. So your teacher community, you can get with other teachers that feel and have the same mind you have. You say, how long? Well, how long is however long you want to take it. You know, and you may not be able to get the whole world, but you can get your world. I can get my world.
So give some concrete suggestions on acting on what you're suggesting. Cause I'm
Then
gonna
people
give
can
you an
start-
example, just real quickly. The writing thing, I'm going to suggest to Andy that he allot us some space, like once every 2 weeks, where a group of us, maybe in between the Y sessions, a group of us can get together to write letters as a group. We just sit down and everybody write on this, and we do it as a group.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so I'm just asking you how to put in action something that you're speaking
Well, one
about.
of the things I did do, and I'm gonna go back to doing, I'd like to give some information out about Fannie Lou Hamer. I did a talk on Fannie Lou
Because
Hamer.
Betty Lou said, Ph.D. or no D, we're all in this bag together.
That's right. That's right. But just given the history, a lot of people don't know, so I like giving talks and slideshows on what they did, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou.
Have you been, as part of what your action is, have you been writing, and handing out or publishing somewhere a profile on Fannie Lou Hamer?
No, I did a talk one time on Harriet Tubman Day. A lot of people don't know March 10th is Harriet Tubman Day.
Well, let's
Some
stick
people do
with,
know, but some people don't.
let's stick with,
I know, so let me speak with me. I know that March 10th is Fannie Lou
right,
Hamer.
but
Harriet Tubman Day.
what do you think of the idea of writing a profile of Fannie Lou Hamer?
I think
Because,
it's a
for
great
instance, I just met the new superintendent over at this NAACP meeting. He's a new superintendent for the Wilson School District. I took his card, because I said, I'm sure our paths are gonna cross sometime, that if you help whoever our correspondents here to do a profile of Fannie Lou Hamer, suggest it and have it just printed up on 8x11 paper, contact and we can help work with you to do it, to say, listen, here is a figure that your children in schools should know. We would appreciate it if you took this and listened to what we have to say about it. Why I'm saying that is because, again, synchronicity is it's no accident that you're here, that we're all here together. This is a meaningful coincidence because we have work to do together. And you brought that up. And what I loved about my work as a general assignment reporter, it gave me an opportunity to do profiles of people. That was back in the day when you could have a profile about, say, an Indian a steel worker, and it could run 3 minutes. Now that would be considered a documentary. But if you wrote something about Fannie Lou Hamer, and Andy, I'm recruiting you, but his passion is about books for children, literature for children. You could just do a rough draft of it and give it to us and prepare it and move on it. It would just relieve some of your frustration with knowing stuff that you think
People don't know.
part of the reason we're in the predicament we're in now is because people don't have the knowledge. Well, as you pointed out, we're the elders. We do have the knowledge. You do know about it. I actually met Fannie Lou Hamer when the Democratic Convention was held in New York.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, she's one of my
She's one of my
heroes.
favorites. Her and Ella Baker.
And Ella
Ella
Baker.
Baker was a
Yes,
fireball.
but
Yeah.
so let's do it. Do something. All right. How much time do we? Yeah.
I'm what's called a mixer.
A
I like
mixer.
to always stir the pot.
Good.
So I could tell you about the 5 months or so from summer of 1963 through February '64 that included the Civil Rights March, seeing President Kennedy speak in Milford, PA, and then the Beatles. But I'm gonna put my wife on the spot. Teresa's family goes back a long way. Her great-grandfather came out of a slave master-slave, he was a slave master-slave birth. He moved to Texas. He had a lot of property. Teresa will disagree with me on this, but my talking with her father when he was alive, he was blonde hair and blue-eyed. He had property. They wanted him to sell it, he wouldn't. He passed himself off as white. That's where we have disagreement. But he was lynched. And the family, some stayed in Texas, East Texas, others moved up to Oklahoma, and then finally St. Paul, in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. That property was what became Exxon.
Excellent. Became.
Now, ExxonMobil.
Yeah.
Now we go pushing 100 years later, and Teresa doesn't talk about it too much, but it's on the record. She suffered through the longest federal discrimination case in federal court history. So I'm putting her on the spot because she doesn't often ask for help on things, but she has interest in writing, and she might need a few other people to kick her in the pants to start. You want to make any corrections to
No,
that?
I was just gonna say, my family was not a part of the civil rights movement. They considered them the radicals. They were very much proponents of Booker T and self-governance and independence. So, they were farmers, they built their own, land and businesses, and
AMC.
they were part of the communities that were wiped out by the highways. So they were those business owners that, under eminent domain had everything taken. Their view of the NAACP had always been that, they were the intellectuals, not the ones that actually, built the country, did the work, worshipped in the churches. They were the lawyers, they were the politician types, When I decided to go to college, it was one of those where, why bother? You're just,
Who said why bother?
Well, it's one of those, actually I got it from both sides of my family, I'm mixed, so.
What do you mean you're mixed? Mixed with
One
what?
side of my family is white, Austrian, Scottish, and Irish, and the other side is, black. Basically the mixture of all of America from South Carolina on through the South into Texas.
So, yeah.
Migration up. So what happened is, both families thought, education was a waste of time. They're much more of the pragmatic side of having a skill, having a
The Booker T.
the
Washington.
Booker T. Washington philosophy, but it's also the the Austrian German side, which is the craftsmanship.
Let me
so
ask you
it's
this. Let me cut to the chase on this because we're almost running out of time. A lot of what we talk about is, here's a book I recommend, Crazy Talk, Stupid Talk by Neil Postman. I'm not saying that what you're talking about is Crazy Talk,
I've
Stupid
read
Talk.
that too, yeah.
But if you have a chance to read that book, it's just really amazing how we, and this is something we can also do and share, and that is resources, books, or speakers, or programs that we trust, that we listen to. For instance, I listen to Freakonomics on NPR, which is just really terrific. Hidden Brain is another program that I listen to on NPR. They're just terrific
Well,
programs.
my
But
point
no,
being though, is that I think that that generation that I was raised with is and this is beyond the racial period, or,
Is
racial,
what?
this is beyond the racial point of view, but there is a base of America that is very plain and very, I just wanna do my 8 hours work union.
well, okay, all right. So
But
what
see,
about that?
that is the piece that's rebelling. That is the piece that has,
Yes, so what?
well, what happens, this is my opinion of where we are and why we go back and forth on this pendulum of race or economics or whatever, is that the foundation of our country has evolved. We don't have the farming base, we don't have an
So what?
immigrant base. We have to define our new base, our new foundation.
Well, that's why we're here.
Yes, but part of what
Yes,
is
but,
dividing
yes, but.
us, no, what's dividing us, and it's very easy to be distracted by, is
If
how
it's
we
easy,
talk
why
about
are
it.
we distracted if it's easy?
Because that's what happens, the news that sits there and says, okay, well, what do we think's gonna happen? Especially Trump, he's very good at
Listen,
stirring
I
up
don't wanna get into talking about him. Part of my action is never to use his name.
I think so, but I
That's
think
what I
happens
can
is
do.
we have to define what is America in this next century.
Exactly, and this is what we're doing. That's why we're here, Teresa. You missed the point.
Well,
That's
see,
why
that's what
we're
I
here.
think with W.E.B. Du Bois had the philosophy, this is what I always thought NAACP.
The talented 10.
He wanted to incorporate the equality view on the.
No, you can't speak for Du Bois.
No, I'm just saying, this is my perspective.
Well,
And
go,
NAACP.
tell us where you got your perspective from, chapter and
From,
verse. No, and you look it up and then bring it to us.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Send the mic back,
Okay.
because I appreciate what you thought. I appreciate, you may not believe it, I'm not being sarcastic. I appreciate you raising that, because it partly leads to one of the big criticisms of people who approved of much that Du Bois did and said, and his activism, but who really knocked him about the talented 10th.
Yeah,
We don't have time to really go into.
There's no talking to my grandmother, like I said, it's like, she
No,
must have
no.
her view of it.
The talented 10th was something that Du Bois became very known for. Do you want to speak on that at all? Okay. He supported the idea that the highly educated, college educated, or more refined, should be the elites who brought the other people along. I'm really
And that's
making
what I
it
said. I
very
was like, I'm sitting there
simplified.
going,
I'm simplifying it. So
There you go.
I can't say more than that, but that's something that was a real bone of contention about Du Bois, who later changed. Which is something that we need to keep in mind too, the possibility of change. It's not the possibility, everything changes always,
Everybody
over and
changes.
over, including us. So he changed, at least he was man enough and smart enough and compassionate enough to say, and he was a thinker, and when he saw that his thinking was not matching what he believed were his values, he changed. So that's a possibility.
Right, and
So?
he is definitely, and I think that's one of the stories that never gets discussed about him, is how he evolved. And that's not,
Linda,
he's
you
not a point.
got your glasses? In my bag. Get 'em. So I'll start, and while Linda gets her glasses. The talented 10. Du Bois was more Du Bois was, more than any other figure, including his nemesis Booker T. Washington, the public written, quote, voice of the, unquote, of the Negro American intellectual. This is a quote from Henry Louis Gates. Gates, perhaps the most prolific writer among today's black scholars, appears to aspire to that role himself. Many people have heard of Skip Gates, many because of his work with looking back and finding their roots. Okay. So, Linda, pick it up here. A former London correspondent for Time. This is about the talented 10. And this is other intellectuals talking about how Du Bois influenced them or did not. Okay, go ahead.
A former London correspondent for
Speak
Time.
louder.
A former correspondent for Time. He is a frequent contributor to the New York Times Book Review, The New Yorker, and The New Republic. His award-winning books include Colored People, Figures in Black, and Signifying Money, and Loose Cannons. Gates is also the co-author with Cornel West of The Future of the Race, a book that looks at the current state of Black America, especially its Black intellectual elite. Gates unquestionably has been influenced by Du Bois. His present and high visibility position is W.E.B. Du Bois Professor of the Humanities and Chairman of the Department of Afro-American Studies at Harvard. Gates has garnered a great deal of attention for his department by recruiting scholars, prominent scholars including Cornel West from Princeton and William Julius Wilson, the economist from the University of Chicago, to join K. Anthony Appiah, Evelyn Higginbotham, and Orlando Patterson. The Future of the Race, Gates says that he and West are two grandchildren of the group of intellectuals dubbed the Talented 10th by Du Bois. Their book examines a pivotal aspect of Du Bois's intellectual legacy and offers a response to Du Bois's Talented 10th essay. The authors say that they have attempted to think through and critique Du Bois's challenge to the formerly educated to serve their less privileged brothers and sisters. Gates's contribution to the book is an autobiographical account of the triumphs and tragedies of a generation of young blacks. He calls it the crossover generation, who attended historically white colleges such as Harvard in the late 60s. West's essays in the volume investigates the nature of Du Bois's life, analyzes him as a thinker, and examines his political and physiological ideas. Even when Black intellectuals do careful, serious, deeply thoughtful work, they can still be ignored or dismissed, warns Michael Eric Dyson. He cites as an example Du Bois's Black Reconstruction, which sold fewer than 400 copies its first year of publication in 1935, and was not reviewed by the historical profession's leading journal. Dyson cautions today's Black intellectuals to learn from Du Bois's experience, saying they shouldn't be too quick to surrender whatever visibility they have gotten in deference to a notion of scholar propriety.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, in this, Reconsider the Souls of Black Folk, thoughts on the groundbreaking work of W.E.B. Du Bois. All right, Tula. I see you and Robert sneaking out. All right, I'll see you next time. Okay, all right. Some reflections on the legacy of W.E.B. Du Bois. Assessing the legacy of Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois is a daunting task. It seems not quite enough to say that he was a central figure in the shaping of movements that resulted in the death of apartheid in the United States and the end of colonialism in Africa. Thurgood Marshall, who headed the NAACP Legal Defense Fund during the crucial years of the struggle against the legal caste system that relegated Afro-Americans to a subservient position in American life, once said, quote, "Martin Luther King didn't desegregate a damn thing," unquote. That honor, Marshall argued, belonged to the stalwart and learned lawyers in the NAACP. And as we well know, Du Bois was a founding member and pivotal figure in the work of that venerable institution. From his office, where he served as editor of The Crisis, a weekly magazine, he shaped the consciousness of and inspired a fighting spirit in educated and thoughtful African and Neo-African peoples at home and abroad for more than a quarter of the century. His many columns called to mind James Joyce's declaration, quote, "I intend to forge in the smithy of my art the consciousness of a race," unquote. And through a series of Pan-African conferences, most of which were organized by him, he helped the young Africans who would one day free the motherland from the European invaders to define a course of action that would result in liberating their land. Hence, one could well argue that he, Du Bois, was one of the most influential figures in the Black liberation movement of the 20th century. So, he didn't just think, he acted, he did stuff. He would profile Fannie Lou Hamer.
Oh, I don't know.
Not you.
Disagree with you.
He would do it.
I'm just saying what my family
And he would put it out. No, I'm just saying this is something we can do. This is something we can do, and you can lead us. You can be our leading course.
Yeah.
Yes. Carol.
Yeah.
And say, thanks. Carol's going to kick your butt for bringing me here. But Carol, I'm serious. I'm really serious. That we could. This is something we can do. We can write a profile, and we can distribute it, and approach school supervisors.
I'm in total agreement.
Okay.
We've been having this discussion. We've been talking about this. We just talked about it 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
We as elders, what do we do
Right.
in the communities where we live at to change the minds?
What about
Or shape
what
the
about what I
minds?
suggested as a
I'm
start?
in agreement with you, dear. I'm in agreement with you. Yes.
Okay, so we just have to set a date when
That's all you
who are
gotta
going
do.
to be working on it, get
I'll
together.
give you my number, I'll give you my information, you let me know,
All right,
cause I already have a list of people already
Jocelyn.
written out.
okay, all right, Jocelyn, we have to make sure that we get some names and stuff, oh, the yellow book. And how to contact people. So that we can follow. And the letter writing thing we're going to do, so. Yeah, I'm winding up, Regina. Thank you very much for everything, always. Okay, and you too, Michelle. All right, so,
I hate to, I gotta go now, but can I borrow your keys to get my stuff?
oh, okay, we're gonna wind up right now,
Okay.
all right?
Okay.
Okay, so next meeting of the Y Network.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, we'll be here. Topic to be broadcast, let you know. And any topics that you feel we can address as a group and that we can act on. So.
And there's cake.
Okay.
There's cake.
Oh, and cake. There is cake.
Happy birthday, W.E.B. Dolores. Happy birthday, W.E.B. Thank you, Melba.
All right. Oh, yeah, I need to.